जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today is Thursday. It is 9th of January 2025. It is Sukla. It is Narayana Masa or Pausha Masa, Sukla Paksham and Ekadasi Tithi. So today is the Putra Ekadasi, but it is not suitable for fasting. So fasting is done tomorrow. So this is also called Vaikunta Ekadasi. Okay, so for today we shall quickly move into our daily Srimad Bhagavatam. So tomorrow is the fasting. Um, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Hare Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, so Sukadeva Goswami is speaking on the Puranam Dasalakshanam. So the 10 characteristics of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Atra Sarga Visargasha Sthanam Poshanam Vodayah Manvantara Ishanukata Nirodho Mukti Rashrayah. So these 10 topics he was mentioning, and he explained that the Krishna is the um, Supreme Personality of Godhead who is the shelter for all of them. So now later on, so this is आभासश् आभासश्च निरोधश्च यतः यतो अस्ति अध्यवसीयते स आश्रयः परं ब्रह्म परमात्मीति सज्जते. So for all these 10 topics, 10 characteristics, Ashraya Tattva is the shelter for everything else. And that Ashraya Tattva is called Param Brahma, Paramatmeti Sabjate. And who is none other than Krishna himself. And then after saying that one, he is mentioning about the three personalities. One is the Adhyatmika Purusha and the Daivika, Adi Daivika Purusha, and also Bhotika. Bhotika is the matter, the material body, and Adhyatmika is the individual spiritual soul. Adi Daivika is the presiding deities for controlling the senses and different functions of the materialistic body. So Adi यो आध्यात्मिकोऽयं पुरुषः सो सो असौ सो असौ एव आदिदैविकः यस्त यस्तत्र उभयविच्छेदः पुरुषो हि आदिभौतिकः. So the three personalities, individual soul, and which is controlled by, and another Purusha is the controller of the senses and different functions, that is Adidevika. And third Purusha is the matter, it is the Adi Bhautika, just matter. That is three personalities are called Purusha. Yastatru Ubhaya Vichedaha Purusho hi Adi Bhautikaha. So that is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada, and also Sukadeva Goswami is explaining. So this Bhautika Purusha, that is the material body, it is Anna Rasamaya. Because it keeps on Sava Yesha Purusho Anna Rasamayah. So this is the mantra, Vedic mantra, because it needs some food to maintain for the wear and tear. So after saying that, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that, so the three personalities, the three Purushas, Adi Adhyatmik, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, these three, they're all interdependent. With absence of one of it, there is no meaning for the other things. They're always interdependent. So, but though they are interdependent, but there is a person who has made them as interdependent. He is completely independent. Again, he is the shelter of all the shelters. So likewise, Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning. So here, for example, the individual soul, and it needs to be controlled by the, for example, the eyes, and which needs eyes have got vision, but without the sunlight, they cannot see. But presiding deity of the sun, who is illuminating the sun planet, and that light, without the light, the eyes are useless. Without the eyes, the sunlight is useless. Likewise, both are dependent. And for all of them, so they need some kind of the materialistic body as well. That is the Adi Bhautikaha. Purushohi Adi Bhautikaha. So these three are, for all three Purushas, Krishna is the shelter. Likewise, Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning. We are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter. We are second canto, chapter 10, verse number 9. एकं येतर अभावे यदा न उपलभामहे स्थितयं तत्र यो वेद स आत्मा स्व आश्रयाश्रयः एकं एकत्र अभावे एकं एकत्र अभावे. So one and another, this out of these three, Adi Adhyatmik, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik, these three Purushas, ekam ekatra, one another, abhave, in the absence of one of it, ekam ekatra abhave, yada na upalabhamahe, yada na upalabhamahe, there are, because does not perceptible. So there are with no meaning for it. So this is in another way. यदा न उपलभामहे तृतीयं तत्र यो वेद तृतीयं तत्र यो वेद. So in the three stages, tatra yah, so one yah is the one veda who knows. Tritayam tatra yo veda sa atma ashrayasrayah. Sa, that person, atma, the super soul, swa ashraya ashrayah, he is the supreme shelter, shelter of the shelter. So who knows the three personality? This is the Adi Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik. These three, for all three, the supreme personality of Godhead, he is the Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha, the super soul. He is the shelter of all the shelters. Ekam ekatra abhave yada na upalabhamahe tritayam tatra yo veda sa atma swa ashraya asrayaha. It's a translation for this verse. All three of the above mentioned stages of different living entities are interdependent. In the absence of one another is not in the absence of one another is not understood. But the Supreme Being who sees every one of them as the shelter of the shelter is independent of all, and therefore he is the supreme shelter. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Can I request Hangma Mataji, would you like to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna. There is, sorry, my voice is a bit. There is innumerable living entities, one independent on the other in the relationship of the controlled and the controller. But without the medium of perception, no one can know or understand who is the controlled and who is the controller. For example, the sun controls the power of our vision. We can see the sun because the sun has its body, and the sunlight is useful only because we have eyes. Without our having eyes, the sunlight is useless, and without sunlight, the eyes are useless. Thus, they are interdependent, and none of them is independent. Therefore, the natural question arises concerning who made them interdependent. The one who has made such a relationship of interdependence must be ultimately completely independent. As stated in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate source of all interdependent objectives is the complete independent subject. This ultimate source of all interdependence is the Supreme Truth or Paramatma, the Supersoul who is not dependent on anything else. He is Sva, Svar, Svarasya Sarvashraya. He is only dependent on himself, and thus he is the supreme shelter of everything. Although Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Bhagwan because Bhagwan is Purushottama or the super person. He is the source of the super soul also. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 18, Lord Krishna says that he is the Purushottama and the source of everything. And thus it is concluded that Sri Krishna is the ultimate source and shelter of all entities, including the Supersoul and Supreme Brahman. Even accepting that there is no difference between the Supersoul and the individual soul, the individual soul is dependent on the supersoul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. The, the individual is under the clutches of illusory energy, and therefore, although qualitatively one with supersoul, he is under the illusion of identifying himself with matter. And to get out of this illusory conception of factual life, the individual soul has to depend on the supersoul to be recognized as one with him. In that sense, also, the supersoul is the supreme shelter, and there is no doubt about it. The individual living entity, the jiva, is always dependent on the supersoul, Paramatma, because the individual soul forgets his spiritual identity, whereas the supersoul, Paramatma, does not forget his transcendental position. In the Bhagavad Gita, these separate positions of the Jiva Atma and Paramatma are specifically mentioned in the 4th chapter. Arjuna, the Jiva soul, is represented as forgetful of his many, many previous birth, but the Lord, the Super Soul, is not forgetful. The Lord even remembers when he taught the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some billions of years before. The Lord can remember such million and billions of years as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 27, text 26, as follows. Vedaham sam Vedaham samatani vartamane cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mamatu vedana kaschana. The Lord, in his eternal blissful body of knowledge, is fully aware of all that happened in the past, that which is going on at the present, and also what will happen in the future. But in spite of his being the shelter of both the Paramatma and Brahman, persons with poor fund of knowledge are unable to understand him as he is. The propaganda of the identity of cosmic consciousness with the consciousness of the individual living entities is completely misleading, because even such a person or individual souls as Arjuna could not remember his past deeds. Although he is always with the Lord, and what can the tiny ordinary man, falsely claiming to be one with cosmic consciousness, know about his past, present, and future? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So here in this purport Srila Prabhupada is describing the relationships here. Adhyatma, Adidaivik, Bhautik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Adhyatma, Adidaivik, Adi Bhautik. So, and also there are three different kinds of miseries also. We see these terms, tapatriyas, miseries. Tapatriya are also miseries from the Adi Adhyatmik, tapatriyas, miseries from the Adi Daivik, miseries from the Adi Bhautik. So the miseries comes from the three different angles. That is called tapatraya. So here the purushas are also mentioned, and the purushas, um, these are there are innumerable living entities, and one dependent on the other in the relationship of the controlled and controller. And here again, up to this point, Prabhupada is mentioning. This is the about the Krishna's position and the individual entity and the controllers, the demigods, and also material body. These three are interdependent, but Lord is the Swarat. He is the independent completely. Janmadhyataha, Janmadhyasya yeto anvayad itarashadhe subhignya Swarat. He is the Abhignya and Swarat. He knows everything, and he is Swarat, completely independent. So again, here Prabhupada is giving the analogy between the eyes and the sunlight. They are all interdependent. There are no values if one is absent. This is abhava. See, ekam ekatra abhave yada na upalabhamahe. If one is absent, another one has no usefulness. Without sun, our eyes are useless. Likewise, but here the one who has made such relationship of the interdependence must be ultimately completely independent. This is the Swarat. He is the independent Atma Rama. And again, this is the mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam as he is the independent subject. He is the Swarat. And this ultimate source of all interdependence is the supreme truth or Paramatma, the super soul, who is not dependent on anything else. So again, here the absolute truth, supreme absolute truth is described in the either Paramatma or Parabrahma, super soul, and and then ultimately Bhagavan, and then Krishna. That leads to Krishna. So who is not dependent on anything else? When it comes to Krishna, he is completely independent. He is the Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha. So how the material body and the individual soul and then Adi Daivik. So the controllers are demigods. For all of them, Krishna is the shelter of it. So he is only dependent on himself, on his self, and thus he is the supreme shelter of everything. Again, all the Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Bhagavan because Bhagavan is Purushottama or super person. He is the um, in the Bhagavad Gita, Yasmat Ksharam Atitoham Akshiradapi Chottamaha. I am beyond this the fallible persons. Yasmat Ksharam Atitoham. So Ksharam means the people who are taking material bodies. These are called in fallible souls who wanted to dominate over the material nature. So they will take one particular type of body and come down. They're all the ksharas. And there are many living entities in the spiritual world. They're all called akshara. Aksharaadapi cha uttamaha. I am beyond these fallibles and also infallible souls as well. Yasmat charam atitoham. Aksharad api chottamaha. So the Lord says that I am beyond these fallible and infallible souls. That's why Ato Asmi Loke Vedecha, because of that, I am being in this plan, in the all the Jagat, in the cosmic manifestation, Pratitaha Purushottamaha. Pratitaha Purushottamaha. So I am being glorified as the Purushottama, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purusha Uttama. So this is again the Prabhupada is describing this one. Lord Krishna says that he is the Purushottama and the source of everything, and thus it is concluded that Shri Krishna is the ultimate source and shelter of all living entities, including the Super Soul, the Supreme Brahman. This is again Brahmano hi pratistaham amrutasya avyesya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukasya aikantikasya cha. So the Lord says that one, that Brahman light is also dependent on Krishna. And previously also अथवा बहुनैतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहमिदं कृष्णम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. The entire cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and destroyed with my only single expansion. Likewise, Krishna says that. So, even accepting that there is no difference between super soul and the individual soul is dependent on the super soul for being liberated from the illusion of material energy. We are now stuck up in the material body, stuck up in different layers. This is the one is the subtle bodies, mind, intelligence, and ego, and impurified consciousness or contaminated consciousness. And then on top of that, the Panchabhutas, body made up of the Panchabhutas. Yah Panchabhuta Rachite Rektaha Sharire, Chennu Aitendra Gunarda Chidatmakoham, Tena Vikunta Mahimanam Rishim Tamenam, Vande Param Prakriti Purushayoho Pumamsam. The uh, the soul in the womb of a mother, a baby in the womb of mother, baby prays to the Lord when he is of 7 months, that even though I belongs to the spiritual nature, but I am put up into this material body. Panchabhuta Rachite Rahitaha Sharire, Chenno Aitendra Gunarda Chidatmakoham, with so much of it is a very difficult condition, but still he prays that kind of so he is conditioned here by the material nature. So in order to get liberated from that condition, he needs to depend on the super soul from the illusory energy of material energy. The individual soul is under the clutches of the illusory energy, and therefore, although qualitatively one with the super soul, he is under the illusion of identifying himself with matter. So here, when we are asking who are you, then people everyone say their name, and then they will take nice pictures and they look into their mirror and they say, okay, it is me. But that is how they are identifying with the matter, the pictures, and but actually there is a Swarupa, the spiritual body, who is covered by the subtle body on top of the material body. We are not the picture that we are seeing in the mirrors, something like that, or photos. We are not that body. We have got a spiritual body. We are covered. At the moment, based, these are all our perceptions, the different tastes or vasanas. Vasanas means uh, desiring to enjoy over the material nature, lording it over the material. Because of those desires, we got this kind of body. When these are all completely cleared out, no more material desires. Then complete spiritual body, just like a Vasantyatra Purushaha Sarve Vaikuntamurtayaha. Ye nimitta nimitena dharmena aradayan harim. The youthful body always luster and lustrous, so it is always effulgent, youthful, having all kinds of eyes like a lotus petals. That is our body, real body, not like this material body, which is subject to the time and then decaying in due course of time. So, and to get out of this illusory conception of factual life, the individual soul has to depend on the supreme soul to be super soul to be recognized as one with him. So it is recognized as one with him in the quality. But Lord is always Vibhu. We are all, even though Sada Purushatmanam Kevalam Prakrite Param Animanam Nirantaram Swayam Jyotihi Animanam Akhanditam. It is always effulgent, just similar to the Lord. Animanam Akhanditam. It is Animanam, it is small. But whereas the Lord, he is the Vibhu. He is the completely full in all opulences. In that sense, also, super soul is the supreme shelter. and there is no doubt about it. So that is why he is Pratitaha Purushottamaha. He is famous as the Purushottama. And this the individual living entity, the jiva, is always dependent on the super soul, Paramatma, because individual soul forgets his spiritual identity, because whereas super soul Paramatma does not forget his transcendental position. So even yeah, he does not change his bodies, whereas we change. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारे यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिः धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यते and vasams yata jenani. So likewise, we leave the old clothes and wear new clothes. Likewise, this is the individual living entity who has got. But whereas the Supreme Lord, even though he appears, Ajopisan Aviyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropisan, and then Prakritim Swam Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya Sambhavami Atma Maya. Because he comes as Atma Maya, he does not change his body. He will never ever forget. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava chadjana tanaham veda sarvani na tvam vetu parantapa. So tanaham veda sarvani. There are so many lifetimes, but I remember all those things. Tanaham veda sarvani. I know everything. Na tvam vetu parantapa, but you don't remember all those things. Because Krishna is in his transcendental body, which is full of bliss, knowledge, and happiness. In the Bhagavad Gita, these separate positions of Jivatma and Paramatma are specifically mentioned. In the fourth chapter, Arjuna, the Jiva soul, is represented as forgetful of his many previous births. This is Bahunime Vititani Janmani Tavata Arjuna. But the Lord, the Super Soul, is not forgetful. So Tanaham Veda Sarvani. But the Lord even remembers when he taught the Bhagavad Gita. Imam Vivaspate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam. So again the Lord spoke Bhagavad Gita to Vivasvan, the sun god, some billions of years ago before. At the time the Lord speaks all these things. Uh, my dear Krishna, so you are saying that you spoke Bhagavad Gita to son Vivaswan, but by birth Vivaswan is he is far he is older than you. So I know in our perception, so you have taken birth along with me just like that in the similar kind of period. Likewise, he mentions that then the Lord says, Bahunime vitidani janmani tavatarjuna. Tanaham Veda Sarvajna Natvam Vetu Parantapa. Likewise, the Lord says to Arjuna, and again, Vedaham Samatitani Vartamanani Charjuna Bhavishani cha Bhutani Mam tu Vedana Kashana. I know Vedaham Samatitani, whatever is happening now. What Samatitani Vartamanani Charjuna Bhavishani, past, present, and Bhavishya, the future. Mam tu Vedana Kashana. But you cannot remember all those things. I know everything, present, past, future. So again, that is the position of Krishna. And then but in spite of his being the shelter of both Paramatma and Brahman, persons with poor fund of knowledge are unable to understand him as he is. So again, this is people avajananti mamudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram avajananti mamoda. They do not understand moda because they are fools. And the propaganda of the identifying of cosmic consciousness with the consciousness of the individual living entities is completely misleading. Because even such a person or individual soul as Arjuna could not remember his past deeds, although he is always with the Lord. And what can the tiny ordinary man, falsely claiming to be one with the cosmic consciousness, know about his past, present, and future? So this is our conclusions. Okay, so likewise, Prabhupada is describing here. So Krishna, that's why because he is the basis for everything. He is the Gatir Bhatta Prabhu Sakshi, Nivasaha Saranam Suhrud. He is the everything. many things, all these 10 topics like Atra Sarga Visarga Shastanam Poshnamutayah Manvantri Shanakato Nirodha Mukti Ashriyah. He is the Ashraya, Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha. So on that word, Swa Ashraya Ashrayaha, Prabhupada is describing everything here. So he is the supreme shelter of everything. Yesterday also Prabhupada mentioning the same thing as well. So and the conclusion is that the supreme person is the shelter of all. Okay, so that is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So without one of these three purushas, other two does not have any meaning. Ekam ekatra abhave yada na upalabhamahe tritayam tatra yo veda sa atma swa ashraya. So Adi Adhyatmic, Adi Daivik, Adi Bhautik. These three Purushas are again completely dependent on Krishna, who is the completely independent person. Okay, so that is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Okay, we shall quickly move to Srila Prabhupada's daily letter. So today it is letter to Advaita, June 18th, 1970, Los Angeles. It is a small letter. Can I request any unallocated devotee to read this letter, please? Prabhavati Mataji, are you available to read this? Okay, if not any other devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry, I was not able to unmute. I'm sorry. My dear Advaita, please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 16th June 1970, along with the 2 copies of Nectar of Devotion. Yes, it is made very excellent. At least I can safely say that there is 80% perfection. This means we can hope very soon books printed from your press will be 100% successful as we are expecting to get from Dai Nippon. In some of the pages, the ink impression is not sufficient. Otherwise, it appears everything very nice. The paper is first class. The sewing is also nice, and I hope the cover binding will be nice when it is done professionally. The pictures have also come out very excellent. So everything is very hopeful. You are trying your best, and Krishna will give you proper intelligence to execute these press responsibilities. All all of you in the press are doing so hard work. I can simply pray to Krishna for your perfect and advancement in Krishna consciousness. One thing I must inform you in this connection that so far our activities in Krishna consciousness are concerned, every one of us should read this book very attentively because all conclusive statements in the kingdom of bhakti are contained in this transcendental valuable book. It is the essence of all Vedic scriptures, enlightening about Krishna consciousness. If anyone will read this nectar of devotion very carefully, he will have all guidance in bhakti cult. So in the temple class, some portions of this book must be regularly discussed. Hope this will meet you in good health. Your ever will wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna
Mataji.
Prabhuji.
Take care, friends, Mataji.
Yeah, in this particular letter, Srila Prabhupada is expressing his gratitude about the Nectar of Devotion book, and he is carefully going through it and uh, correcting wherever is necessary. And also, Srila Prabhupada is, thanking, expressing, their hard work, and he said he will be praying for their advancement in KC. And also he is Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about the importance of reading Nectar of Devotion, and he is explaining here that this is the essence of all Vedic scriptures, which is enlightening about bhakti also and about Krishna consciousness. And it's a very important, it's a very valuable book, and everybody must read. And he's also saying that a copy should be left in every temple, and it has to be discussed as much as possible in every center. So that's what he's mainly mentioning about bhakti cult here, and importance of reading Nectar of Devotion very carefully. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I think that's it. I can say.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for reading and kindly explaining. Okay, so just one thing, Prabhupada was mentioning some praying for cases, some is that Krishna consciousness, Mataji, you mean? Casey. When you were mentioning Casey, I was thinking Casey demon, something like that. So it is a Krishna consciousness. Okay, so okay, we always, so just on that particular term, we always do not shorten the terms like Krishna consciousness as Casey, because uttering the sound Krishna consciousness, there is a sound Krishna. When we say simply case, it will take to so many other things. It will not have any value in it. And similarly, when our acharyas give the names to us, like the Devi Dasi and Dasa, that needs to be expanded always as it is. We should not shorten for the sake of displaying purposes. So we need to keep those names without any alterations. We should not use our mind or our intelligence. Okay, so that is one point to remember.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, and here Prabhupada is mentioning everyone has to read the Nectar of Devotion very carefully. We'll read this Nectar of Devotion very carefully. He will have guidance in Bhakti cult. So, in the temple class, some portion of this book must be regularly discussed, because we are all in the Bhakti Yoga. It is called Upasana Kanda. So there are Vedas, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda is given to Daksha Prajapati, Jnana Kanda is given to the Sanakadi sages, and then Upasana Kanda came to Narada Muni. Narada Muni has given this Bhakti cult to all of us, and we are following in the same way. That is completely nectar of devotion, bhakti, how to act, what needs to be done. All these are embedded within this book, Nectar of Devotion. So Prabhupada is stressing that point. In the temple class, some portion of this book must be regularly discussed. This is our life. This is our day-to-day life regularly. Okay, so this is my takeaway. Any other comments, dear devotees, you wanted to add?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, not only just nectar of devotion here, but like you are giving all day, we are reading this Bhagavatam sloka, also give us more and more to give attachment like towards Krishna and more, like, yeah. So I just want to add that, yeah, just reading all the other scriptures as well is also very important. And how you can get attached like near to the Krishna, like, so yeah.
Yes. So these are all transcendental books.
Mhm.
Very beautiful. Yes, we have to keep reading this one. These are all eternal books. And this is our Vasantyat. Yanimita Nimitena Dharmena Aradayan Harim. Eternally, when we are worshipping the Lord, what needs to be done day-to-day basis? These are all embedded in here in this book, and also the behaviors, the life, way of life, Srimad Bhagavatam, complete philosophy embedded in Bhagavad Gita, expanded in Bhagavatam, and the other angles explained in the Brahma Samhita and all the Upanishads. So many things are there. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, any other comments? Okay. That is from Srila Prabhupada's letter. Okay, from the announcements point of view. So today evening we have got a Krishna book reading at 8 p.m. And tomorrow it is Ekadasi, and then coming Saturday our Bhagavad Gita session. Okay, these are our upcoming events. And the devotees, if you have got any other updates or you wanted to share anything on Krishna consciousness, kindly share. Okay, if there are no updates, then we shall conclude and continue with further japa. पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय।
Le Prabhupada ki jai.
जय। Have a Krishna conscious day, everyone.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य